There's been a lot made of the files that are missing and how there's a pronounced absence from 1999 to I think 2002, right around 9/11. I think there are some graphics from charts out there that aren't verified, but that this is generally true. It's definitely true that they haven't released all the files. British reporters have compared data sizes from what we have versus what we expected and estimate that we only have 2% of the files so far. And the last DOJ retraction of 47,000 files after our Iran strike, which we've since gotten back, so who knows why. Could be because Trump's the 47th president? Could they be playing games like that? And then from this period, there's also an email from one Ed Epstein asking whether Ghislaine wants to be on a shadow commission on 9/11. That is also true, and here is the email. Now, it should be noted that the now late Edward J. Epstein was an author, investigative journalist, and political science professor at Harvard who specialized in documenting espionage. He wrote about the Warren Commission and Armand Hammer, and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, was a similar triple spy figure. So could this have been an independent project? Maybe, maybe not. Ghislaine turns him down, saying she cannot be on it. Almost conflict of interest sounding with no other reason given. This is also where the infamous photo of Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew is taken by none other than Jeffrey Epstein in 2001. Virginia had been recruited by Maxwell a year earlier, and Andrew had just gotten an official position in the UK government as special representative for international trade and investment. He had this position until 2011 and stepped down amid controversial associations and expenditures, which completely tracks with what we've found out about him since his arrest. Ultimately, that's what he'll be arrested for just last month. Virginia alleged that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew on 3 occasions when she was 17. Based on interviews with associates of Ghislaine and girls that were part of this ring, Epstein would characterize himself to others as medically hypersexual, needing to have sex 3 times a day, like eating meals. Ghislaine even told friends that he had seen the best doctors for it and that she couldn't keep up with his needs. She would then initiate victims with payments to give him massages. If they said they didn't want to, she would offer payments as a recruiter for other girls. And then generous contributions to renowned institutions such as the Interlochen Center for the Arts in Green Lake Township, Michigan, where Epstein went for a summer as a boy, made them fertile hunting grounds. This is how they built their sex ring and ran cover for it publicly. Meanwhile, this is also the time when Epstein started talking to scientists about his plans to make a baby farm at Zorro Ranch and impregnate 20 women at a time in order to seed the planet. He dressed this plan up in an enthusiasm for transhumanism, but we also know from his correspondence that he was a big believer in Jewish supremacy and eugenics. And we'll talk in a moment about why right now we have no way of knowing whether he was able to start implementing his plan. Either way, Epstein will be arrested in 2005 for sexual misconduct with minors, with a few suits against him and 36 direct accusers, girls ages 14 to 17. Donald Trump is reported to have called the police at this time after his arrest to tell them, "Thank God you stopped him," and everybody knows he's been doing this, which both contradicts later statements a candidate Trump would make about his lack of knowledge of Epstein's activities, which is clearly why the administration equivocated about the veracity of this information when it dropped, and also forces the question, why didn't Trump come forward and report this abuse beforehand? Nonetheless, you're going to see MAGA loyalists saying this was Trump turning in Epstein, despite the fact that, again, Epstein was already in custody. And I don't know, knowing him, calling the authorities after your friend's been arrested looks an awful lot like covering your ass after the fact. You'll also see some MAGA repeating Trump's line that he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, as he put it, for stealing people. There's an email that was just unredacted that shows one of Epstein's attorneys asking Trump's lawyer if this ever happened, to which he responds that Epstein was never a member, maybe a guest, but never thrown out. So, just more lies. But back to Epstein. Enter Alan Dershowitz, at this time as Epstein's lawyer, and officially exit Les Wexner, who withdrew his account for misallocation of funds. Here's Alan Dershowitz explaining that if Epstein was Mossad, he could have gotten him off entirely.
I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, he was an intelligence source, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Now, I don't know about that, but Allen would begin negotiations with Alex Acosta, then United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, later Donald Trump's Secretary of Labor, who said he was told by his higher-ups that Epstein belonged to intelligence. He thought, in this case, it was the CIA, and to leave it alone, according to investigative journalist Vicky Ward. Acosta and Dershowitz worked out what would be called a sweetheart deal for Epstein. In it, he pleaded guilty to lesser state charges of solicitation and prostitution, ultimately served only 13 months of an 18-month prison term in Palm Beach County Jail instead of a state prison, including a work release 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and most importantly, a broad, unprecedented immunity and non-prosecution agreement, even shielding any potential co-conspirators from federal prosecution. In violation of federal law, the agreement was kept secret from nearly 100 victims. And I did a double take when I saw that figure, nearly 100 victims. I thought it was 36 girls. Is this a discrepancy? Well, apparently more victims kept coming forward during negotiations between his arrest in 2005 and the agreement's finalization in 2008, more than doubling the figure.